Good evening and welcome to the March 7th Clearwater City Council meeting. I'd ask that you please rise and join the Major Ted Morris from the Salvation Army for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge.
Let's bow for prayer. Our Father, we thank you for the mayor and the city council members who give of their time and experience to lead this great city. Thank you for those who support them in many ways, the city manager, city attorney, and their staff members, law enforcement, fire and rescue, and various city crews and teams who keep Clearwater beautiful from bay to beach. Thank you that we can come together in a public setting such as this for the citizens to hear from the council members regarding various issues affecting all of us, and for the council to hear from those whom they represent. Thank you for the power of the ballot box and those who utilize it to make their voice heard. May we never take this privilege for granted. We pray for your guidance over these proceedings tonight, that this meeting would be productive for the overall betterment of our city. For we make this prayer in the name of the one who created and sustains life. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Major Morris. Always a pleasure to see you, sir. I appreciate you coming out. I'm going to introduce the dais. To my far right is our city manager, Jennifer Poirier.
Good evening.
Next to her is city council member Kathleen Beckman.
Good evening.
On my immediate right is Vice Mayor Mark Bunker.
Good evening.
My immediate left is city council member Lena Teixeira.
Good evening.
Next to her is city council member David Albritton.
Good evening.
And next to him is our city attorney, David Margolis.
Good evening.
Okay, we're going to flip things around a little bit. We have Clearwater for Youth Scholarship winners, and I understand the young ladies have a softball game at 7 p.m., so we want to get them out of here in time. So let's start with the Clearwater for Youth recognition. We have Eric Harris, the program manager. Eric, please come forward.
We've got girls going to games, we've got girls at games, we've got guys at games. We're a little winded up today.
Thank you, Council, for having us in here today. It's more about the students today. Out of 170 applicants, we had 30 receive scholarships. And today we have Clearwater and Countryside High School representatives here who are also scholarship winners. Since the last time that CFY came here, I believe, before COVID in 2019, the dynamics were much different. The program has grown, the program has expanded. This year, you're looking at 30 scholarships for $250,000. And next year, kind of want to continue that trend. However, it all goes to much work with our scholarship committee. They are the ones who take the time to read the applications and also to kind of pump up our program, if I can say that. But anyhow, I'm going to pass it over to our wonderful chair and our co-chair here, Ms. Dawn Doddard.
Hi, thank you so much for having us again. We love being here, and we appreciate you inviting us, and you'll get to meet these great students that we're going to send on to college with a little bit of cash in their coffer, if you will. So tonight we have 9 students. I don't know if all 9 are here, but overall, we have given out $1.15 million in scholarships through Clearwater for Youth efforts, and we're very proud of that, and we're so excited, and we did give 30 scholarships just this week. So, as Eric said, these are young students or young adults who are excited to be students in college, trade schools, and we're here to honor them tonight and introduce you to them. So I also want to thank those who were on the council and Mr. Mayor for attending the ballpark festivities. I know Councilmember Teixeira, you were there, and Albritton. How did I miss you? And then, of course, our city manager. Thank you so much for being there, and our 2 co-city managers, assistant city managers. Thank you for attending that. We're very appreciative of that. So let's get started, and we'll meet our Countryside High students. So Alexis Cole. So Alexa comes to us from Countryside with a 3.2 GPA. She plays volleyball and softball. Could you tell? and on her way to a game tonight. She is on the honor roll, and she had a very interesting statement in her essay, and she is an entrepreneur at heart. She grew up in concession stands with her mom and dad working them, and she is great with finances and math, and she's looking forward to putting that to use as she furthers her career. Thank you, Alexis. Yeah. Next, we have Tyronique Griffin. And Tyronique is also on her way to a softball game. She's from Countryside High, as you know, with a 3.48 GPA. And she plays varsity volleyball, softball, and what she says about sports in her essay is that it has taught her to never give up in life, which she will carry through with her career. Congratulations. Joe Menzoli, sorry, Joel, I tried. Joel comes to us from Countryside High as well with a 4.4 GPA. He plays varsity soccer. And he's on the National Honor Society, he's captain of soccer, and he also is player of the season. He says being the captain of his soccer team not only highlighted the importance of leadership and resilience, excuse me, but he'll have that to carry on as an invaluable lesson in life. Congratulations. Shannon Strickland. There we go. We've got all our softball girls here tonight. 4.54 GPA. She plays flag football, varsity basketball, varsity volleyball, varsity softball, and the list continues. She's on the National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, and she's a part of the Interact Club. Her colleges of choice are USF and SCF, and she continues to enjoy community service, and she realizes how important it is to give back to your community and will help her grow as a person and bring other people together. Congratulations. I didn't go over their colleges. I apologize for that. What college are you considering? Undecided, okay, because you have so many offers. And Alexis, what about you?
Starting at SBC for 2 years.
Good for you. University of Florida, Joel? SBC for 2 years, there you go. All right, am I missing anybody from Countryside? Oh, Sierra Lee, where's Sierra? Oh, from Clearwater, but I'm at Countryside. Thank you, you scared me there for a minute. Okay, so Maya Kaufman. So Maya comes to us from Clearwater High School with a 3.73 GPA, flag football, dance, and cheerleading. She has received MVP for varsity cheer, and she has received the Maria Edmonds Hispanic Achievement Award. She is attending Florida Atlantic, yes, and she's going to be studying marketing and digital design. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Terry Ann. Did Terry, I think someone told me she wasn't coming tonight. No? Okay. She is not here. All right, so let's do Carolina Ballon. Carolina is a 3.90 GPA. She is a soccer co-captain, and she is considering the University of Oregon. You're going a long way from home, girl. Thank you. And next we have Mackenzie Hart. Mackenzie Hart is from Clearwater High School. I think Mackenzie just came from a game. Did you just come from a game? Yeah. She has a 4.10 GPA. She plays volleyball, tennis, football, soccer, and she is in our ROTC program at school. She is the yearbook editor, and she has won the Kaufman Award for soccer, most improved player in tennis, and she also plays volleyball. Her college, are you going to university, or Warner University? She is, yeah, to advance her career in sports management. Congratulations to you. Brooke Haywald. Is Brooke here tonight? She was on her way. All right. Sienna Lee. Sierra. Sorry about that. Sierra comes to us from Clearwater High School with a 4.32 GPA. She enjoys flag football. She's the basketball team manager, and she's on the National Honor Society, the Science National Honor Society, and she also is a CHS ambassador. She is, where are you going to school? You've got a lot pending. There you go. Take a bow. She wants to be a healthcare provider and advocate for those who need medical attention. Perfect. Am I missing any? Oh, Terry Ann, you got here. Yay. All right, Terry Ann. let's find you. Clearwater High, 4.57 GPA, cross-country, theater, and drama. Terry Ann has won the Joseph Carwise Student Achievement Award and MVP Women's Cross Country Runner, and also Dean's List. She is pending FSU, right? Pending? But she hopes to study environmental studies, and she is matching that with theater and arts because she wants to make movies so that we can all find out how to be better to our environment. Congratulations. You're welcome. Everybody? Did I get everybody? All right. Well, I hope that you'll all congratulate these young adults with me, and achievements well done. Am I missing anything? Can we introduce them to you? Would you like to meet the council members?
I was a theater kid myself.
Congratulations. How you doing? Saw you,
Oh, you got an exciting career. Congratulations.
Well done.
Congratulations to you.
Great job.
Thank you again for having us. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you, Dawn, and I want to thank the board of Clearwater for Youth. It does a great job. 30% of the 30 scholarship, at least 30% of the 30 scholarship winners were first-time college attendees from their families. So this is really a program that's reaching out and touching people that need it. And congratulations, and Eric Harris, who you saw here, who came up first. Eric's a legend in basketball at Largo High School. He's the son of former County Commissioner Calvin Harris, and it's good that he's back here giving back to his community, helping serve the youth of our community. So again, congratulations to all. Give them another round of applause. Chief Ellers, you're up. New recruits for the fire department.
Good evening, Council, Mayor.
Good evening.
Scott Ellers, Fire Chief, Clearwater Fire Rescue. It is my pleasure to present to you our 14 new firefighters standing behind me. And I'll go from, I'll be brief because I know you got a busy schedule tonight, from my right or your left to the other side, and introduce each one of them. First one is Zachary Atkinson. He was born and raised in Pinellas County. His father had formerly worked as a police officer with Clearwater Police Department, where his mother still is employed. Next is Justin Blocker. He comes to us from Orange County, where he was a fire medic, and he comes to us and well deserved to be here. Next is Jacob Chalou. Was born in Arizona, previously lived in China, Thailand, and Texas, and he came through the Florida State Fire College. Next to him is Camilo Espinal. He was born in Colombia and moved to the U.S. when he was 5. He was previously served in the Air Force and continued to serve in the reserves. Then there's Mike Gurton. He's a lifelong Floridian, and this is his first job in the fire service. Next to him is Jalen Jameson. He was born and raised in Clearwater. He previously worked for the city of Clearwater as a meter reader and a patient transporter at Meese Countryside Hospital. He comes from a large family of first responders as well. Then there's Jason Jones, who previously worked for Pasco County Fire Rescue and had served in the U.S. Army 82nd Airborne. Next to him is Cody Kerr, who grew up in Fort Lauderdale. This is his first job in the fire service, and he looks forward to being part of Clearwater and Fire Rescue. Next to him is Cameron Mills. He's a Florida native. He is excited to be here. His father works for Clearwater Police Department, and his mother is a registered nurse. Alex Sexton is from Dunedin. He is a former college baseball player and a strength coach. This is his first job in the fire service as well. Cameron Snyder, he was born in Tampa. He spent 3 years as a corrections officer with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and is currently enlisted in the U.S. Coast Guard Reserve. Stephen Sadu was born and raised in Jamaica and came to the U.S. in his late teens to attend college in New York. He previously spent 5 years with the Cobb County Fire Rescue in Georgia, and he came here to the great place that we have. Then Nicole Warder, this is her first fire service job, and in her spare time she likes to spend with her friends and family and play a variety of sports. Lastly, is Adrian Zakiri. He is from Clearwater. He has attended the Florida State Fire College. This is his first job in the fire service. With that, I will ask your permission for Ms. Call to provide them with their oath of office.
Please proceed.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Nathan Jones,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
and the charter and laws
and the charter and laws
of the city of Clearwater,
of the city of Clearwater,
that I am duly qualified
that I am duly qualified
to hold office
to hold office
under the charter and laws
under the charter and laws
of the city of Clearwater,
of the city of Clearwater,
and that I will
and that I will
well and faithfully
well and faithfully
perform the duties
perform the duties
of
of
firefighter,
firefighter,
of which I'm now about to enter.
of which I am now about to enter.
All right, that was awesome to see so many young people joining our fire department. Good for them. Wish them a long, healthy, and happy career with the Clearwater Fire Department. Okay, next we have, let's see, we have a proclamation for the Newspaper and Education Week. If we could have Sue Bedry and Jody Pushkin from Tampa Bay Times come forward, please. Research tells us that the best way to help children discover the joy of reading and become lifelong readers is to involve them early and often. And whereas helping a child learn and love to read improves students' chances for success in school and beyond, and whereas research shows that students who learn using the newspaper as an educational resource are more likely to become lifelong readers and informed and engaged citizens, and whereas the newspaper in education is an international program that encourages the use of the daily newspaper as a living textbook for students from primary through adult education levels, and whereas for more than half a century, the Tampa Bay Times newspaper and education program has served educators, students, and families by providing classroom, newspapers, companion materials, and instructional support. And whereas Newspaper and Education Week is commemorated on and celebrated annually during the first full school week in March, now therefore I, Brian Unk Sr., Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim March 4th through the 8th, 2024 to be Newspaper and Education Week in Clearwater.
Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it. Teachers use the newspaper in their classroom they use it as a living textbook, and they teach not only English, but current events, civics, economics, geography, science, health, basically anything you can think of. And so our goal is to help build lifelong readers, critical thinkers, and informed and engaged citizens who grow up to be voters. So thank you again for supporting NIE Week. We really appreciate it.
Okay, now we have Clearwater Trailblazing Women History Month proclamation. Can we have Allison Dolan from the Clearwater Historical Society please come forward? Whereas the city of Clearwater is home to more than 61,000 women with more than 4,100 female-owned businesses, and whereas the female residents of Clearwater continue to serve their community, their state, and nation as elected officials, CEOs of local not-for-profits, teachers, business owners, leaders, and caregivers for our most vulnerable neighbors, and whereas the city of Clearwater can take pride in an amazing, diverse group of esteemed women who have made their mark on our world and who have called Clearwater their home, and whereas the Clearwater Historical Society has celebrated these trailblazing women with an exhibit for the past 5 years, the current one opens March 7th and will continue through May 2024. Now therefore, I, Brian Unk Sr., Mayor of the City of Clearwater, Florida, on behalf of the Clearwater City Council, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Clearwater Trailblazing Women History Month in the City of Clearwater, and encourage all citizens to recognize the women from our community for their dedication and service in the past, in the present, and the future.
Thank you. Yes, the Clearwater Historical Society this is our 5th year. We've had 29 women so far that we've done. We'd like to continue this on, but we've kind of broadened it out to now all of North Pinellas County. So it's amazing what's going on around here. So thank you so much.
Thank you again, Allison. We appreciate you coming out. Okay, let's move on. Do we have an approval of the minutes from the February 15th meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Okay, there's been a request to take item 6.20 out of the consent. Do we have a motion to do that, please?
Mayor, to clarify, the request is to take it off consent, but to hear it after 7.1.
To hear it after 7.1, I stand corrected. Thank you. Do we have a motion to do that?
I move to do that. And I just realized that I don't have tonight's session in here.
Is it, did you just come up?
It's the work session.
Okay, you got it?
No.
No?
But
Okay,
then
well, let's get IT, excuse me, up here. But in the meantime, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Okay, do we now have a motion for the consent agenda minus 6.20? First we've heard of
So
it.
I didn't, I'd opened up the work session, and I thought I was in it. It's not updating.
Yeah.
6.11, yeah. She may put it in a card, but she didn't.
Okay, so make a motion to approve consent agenda item 6.3 through,
6.1.
no,
6.1.
she wanted 6.1 off, right?
No, 6.11.
Oh, 6.1. So 6.1 through 6.19 with the exception of 6.11. How's that?
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Got it? Thank you.
Wait, no, you gotta wait until the item is called, sorry.
Okay, so we're going to,
6.11.
okay, 6.11.
Approve a purchase order to USA Shade and Fabric Structures of Airport, Texas, to fabricate and install a shade structure as part of the Marcado project in the amount of $233,833.61 per Clearwater Code of Ordinances, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. The item in front of you is for the shade structure portion of it. So this was originally part of the overall Marcado landscaping project. When the pricing came in, it came in higher than anticipated. So we went through a VE effort, and this is awarding the remaining portion of the fabric structure. We were able to pull out from the general contractor and awards specifically to the actual vendor to help reduce costs for the overall project.
Okay, any questions or comments on this item? Anyone from the public want to speak to this?
Kathy Flaherty. I'm here tonight, I don't approve this. I don't think that my neighborhood needs, you already approved it was $1 million, and now this is like $1.2, $1.3 million shade structure. This is going to be on the corner of Cleveland and Gulf Bay. You guys just built a street market area there, cost $20 million. This is the Marcado. This is where you're gonna put a $1.2 million umbrella. And so there's all this stuff. All right, there's a picture of it. So the giant shade structure in the middle of the blighted community. There's a street market, and no one's heard about that. But in the Clearwater 2045 plan, you don't have an economic zone, so no one's gonna use this $1 million city structure. No one's gonna use my street market. No one's gonna do anything. And I kept wondering why, like there should be an economic zone. Also on this map, I noticed the Clearwater Marine Aquarium, that's taken off. And this is huge. I mean, Clearwater Marine Aquarium should be it. So I looked back, and back in October of 2022, when the city council was originally presented the framework map, it looked different. Look, I got a dot over where the street marker would be. The Clearwater Marine Aquarium is covered, right? The economic zone for Hercules is a lot smaller. This was what presented, all right? This was what was done, the next steps. There was no steps about changing the map. It was updating the plan, was fine. And then it went to the Community Development Board in May of 2023, and there was a memo, a staff memo, and basically the staff member said that the map was the same one that was presented in October of 2022, which was the one that had my economic zones. But the draft in that CBD thing had that economic zone taken out. Now this draft, this new map of framework, all of a sudden was printed on 4/3/2023, and that's right after Hibbert got resigned. It was when the new city manager stepped in, and all of a sudden we have a whole new framework map that had been developed for 2 years. Now we have a map in this 2024 plan that doesn't have, and this was what was presented to the city and approved at 6/23/23. So this Marcado umbrella is being built for $1.2 million in a zone that was taken away when nobody knows when it was taken away. I went to the CBD board last Tuesday, and asked them if they knew anything about this, and they just said nothing. So there was no meetings, there was nothing community that changed this zone map. Your whole 2045 plan is based on this, You based it on a lie.
Anyone else want to speak to this?
I'm done with you guys.
Ms. Flaherty, your time's up. All right, you had your first warning, okay? Another outburst and you're out of here,
My
okay?
husband died last Thursday.
Sorry to hear about your husband.
Having a war on the forehead tomorrow.
Anyone else want to speak to this item? If not, do we have a motion?
I move to approve agenda item 6.11.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, thank you. All right, let's go to administrative public hearings, item 7.1, please.
Declare a surplus a certain portion of real property located at 1,000 North Hercules Avenue, also known as the Clearwater Air Park, for the purpose of the City of Clearwater entering into a certain First Amendment to lease and property operation agreement with Fly USA.
Good evening, Councilman McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. This item is a request to modify the surplus declaration of the Clearwater Air Park. On January 17th, 2023, Council approved the surplus of the Clearwater Air Park located at 1,000 North Hercules Avenue. The details of the surplus at the time were specified to terms of the lease agreement between the City of Clearwater and Fly USA. We are requesting to declare the surplus of the property with updated information that would match the terms in an amendment to the lease agreement. The initial term was for 5 years with unilateral options to renew for another 5 years and then subsequent 4 additional 5-year renewals upon mutual agreement for a total of 30-year term. The amended term will provide for a 30-year initial term with 5 5-year renewal options subject to mutual agreement of both parties. The amendment also updates the language associated with monthly rent to ensure the rent payments agreed to the initial agreement remain the same. For the purpose of clarity, the specific property that is subject to surplus has already been declared surplus. This is just updating the terms of the lease associated with the surplus, so it matches the proposed amended agreement. There is no expansion of the airport. I have an aerial view that I can share if necessary, and Barry Shevlin with Fly USA is here to answer any questions if you should have one. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from the council?
No.
Anyone want to speak to this from the public?
Good evening, I'm Dennis McDermott. I live on Lakeview Road in Clearwater. And I have to commend the council, both appointed and elected members, because you have a tremendous responsibility. You're expected to be experts on everything from nuclear reactors to solid waste treatment, from airports to marinas, from the intricacies of land use law to HIPAA, all with no training on such diverse and complex subject matter, with no research or support staff to help you prepare for the next curveball coming your way. Add to that, over the past 5 years or so, Clearwater has experienced astonishing staff turnover at the executive level, in middle management, and among the rank and file. With no apparent succession planning in place, the city lost a tremendous wealth of both institutional memory and intellectual capital, and there really is no way to recover from that. It seems clear that rather than look to independent subject matter experts, city staff often rely on representatives of developers and other private sector operators for advice. That said, I believe this action is not in the best long-term interests of current and future Clearwater residents and stakeholders. There is a current lawsuit, 23-943-CO, against the city alleging improprieties relating to the original RFP, seeking respondents to provide this FBO services at the air park. It was RFP 38-22 issued in June 2022, and it's still winding through the courts. And I don't think there was another RFP issued for this particular action, which I wonder why there wouldn't have been. But at any rate, my closing is I request that this item be tabled and made subject to a comprehensive public information campaign, followed by a referendum to be ratified by a majority of the qualified electors in the city of Clearwater, voting in the next available public election of the city of Clearwater, which I think would probably be next year. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And I hope you do the right thing.
Anyone else want to speak to this item?
I don't know if just time, but I have an additional 2 minutes.
Did you submit a card?
Yeah, because 3 people on it.
Okay, I see two, so Daniel, I know, but you only get a minute for their time that they give up. So Daniel Johnson and Robin Rinsberger, okay, you get 5 minutes.
I just want to Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you today to voice our collective concerns about the future of the air park. The potential approval of the declaration of surplus land to allow Fly USA to automatically extend their current lease agreement for 40 years, plus an additional 25 years, is concerning. It is unclear why the city feels the need to circumvent a public referendum. You are making a decision without voter input for at least 3 generations of the citizens of the city of Clearwater. I'm not sure what the urgency is for granting this extension, especially in light of the recent tragedy. Perhaps logic would prevail for once and everyone would take a step back to involve the local community instead of working in favor of corporations. It seems residents are continually ignored in favor of money for the city. It is crucial to remind our esteemed council of its primary responsibility, to serve the best interests of the residents, not corporations. We all know where extending this lease is headed, contrary to what is spoken, an expanded air park in our residential neighborhood. We are not so naive to believe this isn't the case. While progress and development are essential, we must carefully consider the potential consequences of such a decision on the well-being and harmony of our community. We must question whether further development and expansion of the air park aligns with the core values and safety of our community. Expanding an air park in a residential area brings with it a host of issues. Firstly, increased air traffic poses a threat to our peace and tranquility. The constant noise generated by aircraft can disrupt our daily lives, disturb our sleep, and diminish the quality of life we currently enjoy. Moreover, the safety of our families is paramount. Introducing more air traffic to our neighborhood raises the risks of accidents and emergencies. We must consider the potential dangers associated with aircraft operations in close proximity to our homes, schools, and public spaces. The expansion of an air park could also have a detrimental impact on our property values. The noise, safety concerns, and altered landscape may discourage potential home buyers and negatively affect the overall appeal of our community. In addition to these practical concerns, let us not forget environmental impact of larger, more powerful planes and the introduction of jet fuel to the air park. In recent days, you cannot watch the news on any outlet without hearing the narrative of a lack of a light beacon.
A light beacon was in use at the air park in the past, and it was taken down due to the negative impact on local neighbors. The tragedy that occurred was due to a lack of experience by the pilot. Instead of installing a light beacon, maybe we should consider limiting air park traffic after dark in a densely populated residential neighborhood. PIE and Alfred Whitted airports are safely positioned on water's edge, not in a neighborhood. They are also fully equipped to handle takeoff and landings of nighttime flights. A 24-hour light beacon would disturb our sleep patterns, affect our overall health, and disrupt the nocturnal ecosystem. It contradicts the very essence of a residential neighborhood where peace and quiet are fundamental to our daily lives. Our neighborhood should not be subject to a perpetual glow. The air park was once restricted to 7 p.m. Now they operate to 11 p.m. and in some instances even later. The plane crash that recently occurred would not have been in the airspace over residential areas of Clearwater if the air park closed at 7 p.m. in the past. It would have landed at PIE or even the Bayside Bridge. Allowing amateur and experienced pilots to be flying over residential areas of Clearwater in the dark is dangerous and unnecessary. Even in the light of innocent lives being lost, it would seem to be not of concern to address the future of the air park with the citizens themselves. Now there is talk of introducing jet fuel to the air park. Introducing jet traffic into our neighborhood poses serious safety risks that we cannot afford to overlook. Jets are powerful machines, and their presence in close proximity to our homes raises the likelihood of accidents and emergencies. If jet fuel were to catch fire, it produces a rapid spread and increases the difficulty of containing the fire. Jet fuel burns at high temperatures, posing a severe risk to nearby structures. I could go on about toxic emissions, difficulty extinguishing, and risk of explosion, but you get the idea. The idea that it's even being considered in an area of residential homes and schools is absurd and only leaves local residents even more suspicious of the future of the air park. Larger planes and jets require longer runways. So where does this all lead? To the landings. I know you're all thinking you've heard this ad nauseum, but we have no choice to continually remind you, as evidenced by the current surplus matter at hand, thereby circumventing a referendum. How are we to believe there will not be some loophole when the time comes to avoid a referendum on the development of the landings? Fly USA caters to transportation of a certain level of individuals, not citizens at large. These typically are corporate executives and high net worth individuals. How is this serving the local residents? It is time for our government to work for us, not against us. Thank you for your time and hopefully your sincere consideration.
Anyone else want to speak to this item? Anyone else want to speak to this item? Okay. Any other discussion up here? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve 7.1.
Second.
All right, I asked him that you didn't come up. Do you want to speak? Come on. I think I asked twice.
Sorry, this is my first time speaking in
That's
front
fine,
of council.
that's fine.
My name is Sarah Jane Marin, and I live at 1758 Starlight Drive in Clearwater, Florida. It's the northwest neighborhood near the air park. The modern-day 4,100-foot airstrip on 47 acres of land at the Clearwater Executive Air Park with the furthest northwest takeoff point on runway 34, less than 300 feet from residential housing, is not the same 185-acre grass facility that catered primarily to transient aircraft when it officially opened as an air park in 1939, nearly 85 years ago. The population density has dramatically increased from approximately 300 people per square mile in 1930 to approximately 4,600 people per square mile of land in 2020. That's an increase of over 1,500%. The sense from the residents has been that operating hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is safest and most appropriate. Arrivals from departures should only be permitted during daylight hours and only while Fly USA management officers are present in the building. The air park should be permanently closed so that the valuable improvable land can be developed into more profitable ventures that would benefit everyone. Presently, takeoffs and landings are permitted from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. The air park operations building is open daily from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fly USA management is not always present during the times when takeoffs and landings are permitted or when the operations building is open. Fly USA has staff present when the building is open, along with the 24-hour nighttime security after it is closed. Never in the entire 85 years of the city's oversight of this air park has there ever been any evidence that the city made any rulings in favor of the concerns voiced by the residents. The air park has never been profitable, and the air park has never been used in an emergency situation in which the other airports in Pinellas County were inoperable. The people who recently died did not live in a neighborhood adjacent to the air park, and the entire world is looking at Clearwater, the county seat of Pinellas County, to care and make a change. Fly USA has always been clear in their intent to make the air park more profitable, and it is the city's responsibility to implement the controls and funding to ensure a safe path to profitability if they choose to allow it to operate in the current densely populated residential area. As the current neighborhood liaison for the Air Park Advisory Board, I have attended many meetings and submitted hundreds of emails documenting flight path violations over the past year. While I have seen that Fly USA has been exceptional at meeting their obligations with regard to their lease agreement with the City of Clearwater, the ultimate problem is the safety concern that lies with the lack of accountability measures that change the flight activity at this public airport. My recommendation is to further limit the hours of operation. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. should be standard operating
Ma'am, you need to
hours.
wrap it up. Sorry, your time is up. We do have your full statement here, and we can read the rest of it.
Thank you.
you. Okay. All right. Is there anyone else? Okay. Now, we had a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Let's go to 6.20, please.
Approve a First Amendment to lease and property operations agreement for the Clearwater Air Park between the City of Clearwater and Fly USA to provide a 30-year initial term ending on February 29, 2053, with five-year renewal options subject to mutual agreement of both parties among other minor revisions, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same.
Good evening again, Council. Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. This item is a request to amend the lease agreement between the City of Clearwater and Fly USA. On January 12, 2023, City Council approved a lease agreement with Fly USA for the Clearwater Air Park. In the past year, staff has been satisfied with Fly USA's management of the air park as they have reduced the intensity, addressed multiple derelict aircraft, and are working towards making multiple capital and safety improvements. The initial term of the agreement was for 5 years with a unilateral option to renew for another 5 years, and then subsequent 4 additional 5-year renewals. The amended term will provide for a 30-year initial term with 5 5-year renewal options subject to mutual agreement of both parties. The amendment also updates the language associated with monthly rent to ensure the rent payment agreed to in the initial agreement remain the same. There is no change to the financial terms of the initial agreement. The reason for the lease amendment to extend the initial term to 30 years is due to Fly USA looking to make significant capital investments of approximately $2.4 million to include a new terminal and additional hangars. With Fly USA making the financial investment, they are seeking the modification to the extended term so they can have access to the capital project they are providing funding for. Once again, I have Barry Shevlin here, and we'll both be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council at this point? Yes, ma'am.
So thank you. So the last agenda item in this one deals with the agreement with Fly USA.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was about just declaring making the public notice to have surplus so that we could modify the lease to a 30-year, correct?
Correct.
And then this one is essentially the same.
Same thing.
And what I think I want to explain to residents who have valid concerns is that we decided a year ago, we put out an RFP and had a respondent with Fly USA, and we decided to enter into that 5-year contract with Fly USA. We had to declare the property surplus. We did that. We had people that came, just like you and maybe many of you, to speak. And then we voted to go with Fly USA a year ago. And Fly USA gave us their financials and said that this is how they were going to operate with these 5-year incremental contracts that they could extend. But after a year of operating, they're saying, we need a 30-year agreement, and that's what they want to extend in order to get financial loans to make those improvements. Is that correct?
I can let Barry answer that question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think it would help if I provide a little context. When we were negotiating the lease agreement, there were an awful lot of assumptions that we were making. And over the last year, we've learned which of those assumptions were correct and which were incorrect. The most material one being how the FDOT funding mechanism works. If you read our proposal and the lease, we were assuming that FDOT was going to fund 80% of all these capital improvement projects. Since that time, FDOT has changed their position or hardened their position, where they're only going to match 50% for pretty much all of the vertical construction, the revenue-generating properties. So the capital that we're going to have to invest is now significantly more. In Section 12 in the current lease, we figured this might happen, and it basically says that we would come to the city and we would work on a one-off basis to figure out how to fill that gap, if you would. So what I'd like to highlight is not what we are asking today, but what we're not asking for today. I think the lease opened the door for us to come back to the city and say, hey, we'd like you guys to contribute additional capital to move these projects forward. And in our negotiations with the city, it was clear that that was a non-starter. So we said, hey, what about if we just guarantee us the term of 30 years, we'll put the additional capital in, everybody wins. The city doesn't have to deploy any more capital than they initially did. We get to accelerate the projects and get things moving, and we have certainty that we're going to be there for 30 years. And that really was the negotiation and where we ended up and why this amendment's in front of you today. Is that context helpful?
It is, and I think it's important to note that the contract stays exactly the same as the expectations of you and how you're operating and how you report back to us. And as one of the residents said, you have delivered on that agreement so far. A number of things have happened, reduced helicopter takeoffs and things like that.
Sure.
Do you want to highlight some of the things that have, the progress that you've made?
Yeah, I think the first year was great. We agreed to help reduce the intensity of the operations in the air park. One of the first things we did was institute additional restrictions on the hours of the flight training for helicopters. That was by far the single biggest complaint of the neighborhoods. So in listening to the neighborhoods as one of the constituents we know that we're here to serve, that was our focus. When we took over, there were 6 helicopters based there providing flight training. It's down to 1. So we've reduced the intensity of that helicopter training by, I don't know what the percentage is, 80% plus. So, there were a number of unairworthy, uninsured planes all over the air park. I think there are about 20 of them. Those have all been removed, making it a safer place. We've made a number of safety improvements in and around the air park, around fueling. We're putting our employees through more standardized, industry-recognized training that was a more structured training program that was in place before. I think we've done a lot of great things. We've increased the frequency of the Young Eagles events. They're now happening every other month, as opposed to 2 or 3 times a year. So, we think it's been a good first year. We call it first year of success. Good. Obviously, some of the feedback from FDOT has been, that wasn't the greatest news, but I think we've found a good path forward in partnership with the city, and it's been great working with you guys. We look forward to continuing to do that.
And we've got a number of those 80-20 loans that have come through, and so that's good. And so I think what the other thing that's important to understand is that, again, like you said, the terms of the agreement remain the same, except for the incremental time. And so we can remove you from operation for cause, from that 5-year contract and from the 30-year contract.
Correct.
Right?
Your termination for cause provisions were not changed in this amendment. It was really just the term and then other language that was associated with the term.
And the length of the financials return. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Shevlin?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Someone who spoke earlier was talking about the tragedy at Bayside Waters. And the talk of a beacon came up. I know when I read the newspaper article, the first thing I thought is, well, why don't we have a beacon? And then it turned out when I was talking to our city manager, was the neighborhood didn't want the beacon. What safety issues are being put in place to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again if we don't have the beacon?
Well, a rotating beacon is in our plan, as is an instrument approach. We think, the instrument approach is probably the single biggest improvement to safety that we can make. That would have been equally as helpful for a pilot than a rotating beacon would have been, maybe even more so. So there's dependencies of things that have to happen. The next part of the project that you guys have approved work order for recently is a survey and geotech. That's going to outline where everything can and needs to go. So we've been thinking that of it as a dependency to some of these other projects. But I mean, it's certainly something we've talked about to you guys before as one of the improvements we'd like to make.
In layman's terms, can you explain how this GPS system or safety system would operate?
An instrument approach would allow a plane to, program their avionics to fly them to the airport, even if they couldn't see where the airport was. So, that would have been, if in the case of the flight the other day, the pilot would have programmed the instrument approach into his avionics, which would have brought him to, to the approach glide path of the runway.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Shovel? Okay, thank you. All right, anyone from the public want to discuss this item?
Good evening again. Dennis McDermott, Lakeview Road in Clearwater. I really didn't want to talk about this tonight. I don't know if I even can get this thing up on the screen. In the lease, which is the lease between the city and Fly USA for the operation of the air park, is I think it's 114 pages long. And toward the back, the largest section is what's called ALP, or air park layout plan, or sometimes it's called a master plan. And it lists a series of projects that were recommended and agreed to, I guess, when the city and Fly USA signed the lease. And it starts out with install a rotating beacon. That was number one, number two, and, it goes on and on. The first thing that was done after Fly USA took over operation of the airport was to apply for a grant from FDOT so that they could buy a new golf cart. And then the next thing I'm able to find is this thing, the public RNAV GPS approach, which I would argue probably could have helped this particular pilot. But there are so few pilots that have an instrument rating and maybe don't have, and from what I know, I'm not a pilot, but from my brother is and my nephew is, and I'm part of the EAA, so I talk to pilots all the time. This is not really an instrument approach. It's a synthetic instrument approach. It's using technology that was available, I guess, about 20 years ago. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but anyway. And then at some point, the Fly USA created its own private air park advisory council, which is 5 individuals who meet periodically to give real-time feedback to Fly USA. And among other items, they've talked about several things, one of which was golf balls that come over the fence onto the runway, installation of Wi-Fi in the T-hangars, and then there was a recommendation in, I think, August of '23 for urging the Fly USA to support the rotating beacon installation project. And Fly USA in their report, the city reported that they had made it a priority. And then the Grand Avenue Gate, which is another thing. But, the fact is, right now, we are national news. And the reason we're national news, I believe, is because the current operator did not put the priority on a beacon, instead going after this GPS approach. And I just don't know what else to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this particular item?
So I have been at those meetings with Fly USA because I'm the neighborhood liaison. They have done everything that they could to get that rotating beacon. And it is my position to bring up, any concerns that my neighbors tell me about. And one of the things they said is they don't want to be lit up like a Christmas tree, at all hours. And, Fly USA explained to me, and I explained to my neighbors, that it was safer for us to have the rotating beacon. They said that it would help people find the air park when it was cloudy out or they couldn't find it in some reason, maybe for whatever reason. They explained the GPS approach to me. They've been doing nothing but trying to make this place safer. It was a complete disaster from what I understand before they got here. They have listened to us. They have done everything in their power. Like I told you, I have sent hundreds of emails to them, and they have followed up on every single one of those. They deserve every single commendation to try to do everything that they possibly could to try to help the neighborhood. I still feel that the hours of operation, and from what I understand from my neighbors, the hours of operation do not need to be extended until 11 p.m. I feel that is for our quality of life. It's also not very much used at night. And one of the questions that we all had for them is this going to increase night flight traffic? And it was a little unclear as to what the answer to that was. But I also don't understand, why would that be lit up 24 hours a day? Are we anticipating that people are going to fly in 24 hours a day? Because we recently had an incident where someone flew in and nothing was done. And if I would like to say seems to be, when I've read the code, it seems to be like that is on the operator to do something about it. Now, they did call Clearwater Police Department, and the police didn't even write a report about it. They just said, well, it is what it is. But that's where I'm telling you guys about the accountability. There needs to be some sort of accountability. I believe that comes from the city council. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this item?
I'm Mr. Haluba, and it's pretty obvious that citizens don't want a rotating beacon at Clearwater Air Park. They don't want the runway lit up at night. They don't want nighttime landings. They don't want the noise. So there's really only one way to stop the noise and eliminate the danger to surrounding residents and Clearwater, as a whole. And I've stood up here and said this before. Clearwater Air Park needs to be shut down, period. And all this will go away.
Anyone else would like to speak to this?
My apologies for not properly introducing myself earlier. I'm Alyssa Stamos. I live at 1865 Gilbert Street, right at the corner of Air Park Drive. I think we're very well qualified as immediate neighbors to speak to these issues. Everything that everybody says is true. The air traffic is noxious. And the only way to prevent another tragedy, the only 100% guarantee, is to limit nighttime flights or eliminate them completely. I don't think any one of you sitting here before us would like a lighthouse shining in your living room window over and over and over again. And again, we just are prevailing on you to please use a little logic. Come to the neighbors, not just one neighborhood liaison, but the entire neighborhood. Fly USA can be a good neighbor. We're not saying eliminate the air park. We're saying come to us. Let us have a discussion rather than being steamrolled all the time. And I don't think that is too much of a request to ask. Again, we hope that you would work for the citizens, not the corporations. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else want to speak to this?
One last thing, we would like to know the hours of the beacon before it is installed.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this?
I'm James Hart. I live on 2074 Clearwater, Sarah Drive in Clearwater. I also took a few check rides back in the past. If you're up in the air, you always try to be aware of a safety valve where you can come down. I also have a lot of experience in photography and lenses. There's no reason that that beacon cannot be designed instead of a full Fresnel lens like you have in a lighthouse. They have it where it doesn't shine on the neighborhood. You can point it up above tree level and make it safe. You're talking about the GPS. When your engine is out, you're not going to have time to sit there and program a GPS code. You're sinking like a rock. Banana's a wonderful rugged rugged airplane that's even clipped off a telephone pole in an emergency landing, and the plane and the pilot survived that. But obviously it couldn't survive what happened here. So the thing is, work with these guys, obviously, but then as far as the beacon itself, it's a safety valve, it's a good thing to have, but it can also be designed so it doesn't bother the heck out of people. People don't want to have a flashing motel sign in their backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak to this particular item? Okay, any other discussion? Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Shevlin, can you speak about the beacon a little bit? So am I correct that it is already part of the contract? So please, from residents about whether or not to put a beacon there, that's already out of the hands of the council. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's not for us to decide whether or not a beacon goes in the airport, correct?
It's on our plan, and we're working with the city to do this, so, it's something we intend to do in short order.
Okay, but we don't have a veto power. This is your operational decision, or is it up to the council?
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Yes, Mr. Slaughter?
Dan Slaughter, Assistant City Manager. What power you would have is in all likelihood, we would utilize the funding through FDOT, and you would have the ability to approve or disapprove the proclamation. So since the funding would go through FDOT, you would have some, but staff and FlyUSA are both supportive of doing a beacon. It's all a matter of order operations and timing. As Mr. Shevlin said, we're talking about the geo survey. Once that's done, we'll be able to use that to identify a better plan on when and where we would put it in.
Okay, and the funding would clearly identify a beacon, not just for operational expenses that could be used for anything, but it would say for a beacon that we would sign off on.
The FDOT funding is usually very specific to exactly its purpose.
Okay. And then what are the possibilities of designing a beacon that does not, I can't imagine it's rotating 24 hours a day.
No, I think the more modern ones are pointing, they're designed to be seen from the air. They're not designed to bother the neighbors. So I'm not an expert in beacons, but I believe that technology is there to do that. And I'm assuming we'll put it on some type of timer. Again, making an assumption where it goes off when the airport is closed. So,
or senses fog, or senses something.
Those are things we've been talking about, but I don't have the answers to
Right.
that. But we get the issues.
Yes, sir.
That would come in the design phase, all those questions.
Can you share any design phases with us now or the public now from comparable airports that have beacons that are, way up high and don't shine in people's homes?
I couldn't answer that question, no. We would have to hire, a designer, a consultant to design it and construct it. And that's when that information would be available.
But the fact is, we have had a beacon there at that airport for a number of years. Prior.
Ma'am, can I take that question?
Oh.
Because I think that's my fault. And one of the residents who I think I emailed and shared that with her, I'd since learned, when I was researching this, somebody
Yeah.
had shared with me that they thought we had one and it got removed. I have since learned that we have not had
That's
one there
not-
as far as ever, that I'm aware of ever. So
Okay.
we have not had one.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, good to know.
And one of the questions that I was wondering was brought up by the gentleman in the back there about those beacons that go up. Can you guarantee the public that we're going to do something that would be like that? and you said you're not aware of where one is located. Can we look into airports that have used that and how successful it is? And
I'll answer that. So, the location on the airfield is what the survey would provide for, is where we could build it. The design of the terminal building and the corporate hangars, that's gonna give us the height requirement of it. So when you guys approve, if you approve, if we go through a grant to get this done, the design phase will tell us what that light's gonna look like and what effects that would have on the neighbors.
I think the neighbors would appreciate some sort of guarantee that every single effort is going to be made to make sure the light doesn't come down on their homes.
Absolutely.
Mayor, may I suggest that we intend to look at this already? If it's okay with the council, we're more than happy to do some research, learn a little bit more about them, try to share a little feedback. The limited knowledge I have of it is that generally there's a 10 degrees is the pitch that usually is on these lights, which would theoretically, if it's high enough, get it over the neighborhoods. But we have no desire to shine a flashing light in people's homes. And so give us time to maybe research it, learn a little bit more about it. We're still a ways away from adding it,
Gotcha.
but let us learn a little more. We'll report back to you.
I appreciate that, but, I'm sure they want to have some sort of guarantee that we're going to make every effort to make this work out for them.
Well, I would say, if you have these at major airports, most major airports have a beacon, do they not? I mean, I know most of the major jets and whatever have, excuse me, you had your opportunity to speak, okay? Those do not shine in cars going by or buildings nearby, or they would blind motorists that are going into these airports.
Correct.
So I would think that these beacons could be angled up in the air, so they're not going to shine on homes. It could be the same thing in a major airport that would shine into a vehicle that would cause crashes of people coming to the airport. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to be worried about these things shining on a home when they can be angled up.
Mayor,
You know,
I think
certainly-
that's correct. There's one gentleman on our advisory board who spent 20 years working at ATC, and he's pretty knowledgeable in this area, and he's assured us that, the modern beacons are, they're shooting vertical and are not a nuisance to the neighborhood.
And we're going to go through everything we can, every imagination, to make sure that these
We'll
are
do
designed,
everything
if
we
we
can.
go ahead and approve this, to not do so. So I think that's your guarantee, and I think that's your, logically, you just don't, no airport has a beacon that's going to shine that low, because all those major airports have vehicles coming into it, and that would be a disaster.
Well, apparently the old beacon did.
We didn't have one. He just said we didn't have one.
Oh, I thought there was a beacon that the neighborhood said
We all,
get rid of.
it was bad information that we.
And some people at
Oh,
Mr. Slaughter just said we didn't have one, it was research.
all right.
Okay, so, yes, ma'am.
So,
That was Mr. McDermott's point.
I've received several inquiries about the surplus and expansion, and I asked our attorney Margolis on Monday's work session to really give a clear explanation and definition of this, and he did such a great job that I'm going to ask you to do it again tonight. I'm sorry, it's just too many people are talking about it, and you did such a great job on Monday, if you can repeat it. Sorry.
I don't know if I could top that Monday performance.
I have every confidence in you.
Just kidding. So Monday, we talked about a couple aspects of the legal portion of this. And they are unrelated issues to each other, but we've heard some feedback from anxious residents. So one of them has to do with the physical footprint that the air park is occupying. That physical footprint is the air park. The land is not changing, the configuration is not expanding, the leased property is not changing. That legal description has been read 1,000 times by both the city attorney's office and by Public Works, and we are all very comfortable that the footprint physically on the surface of the real estate is not changing, will not change. There are a variety of reasons why it's improbable that there would ever be any possible expansion into the future. I can't say with 1,000% certainty that that could never be proposed at some point to a future council, but I think that's unlikely just given the topography. We're pretty limited by the fact that there are neighborhoods around as well as a lot of right-of-way. In addition to that, it would be impossible for the city to expand into the golf course because the golf course is zoned as open space recreation. under our city charter, land that is zoned as open space recreation cannot be developed or maintained as anything other than open space recreation unless voters were to approve that at referendum. So I don't think that is something that needs to be feared. However, where I think the confusion has come in for residents is because of the fact that the parcel ID associated with the air park and listed on the Pinellas County Property Appraiser's website is a large parcel ID as a result of old platting. That parcel ID encompasses a fairly wide swath of territory. That territory goes beyond the footprint of the actual air park and beyond the footprint that Fly USA is entitled to occupy, both under the current lease as well as under the proposed amendment. That footprint can look like it would include Marymount Park, which I understand is a legitimate concern. However, Fly USA has stated on many occasions from the very beginning that they have no intention of expanding into the park, and more importantly, there is nothing in the lease that would authorize them to expand those operations into any aspect of the park. So those were the concerns that I had heard, but happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you very much.
Anything else from the council? Yes, ma'am.
The one statement you made, Mr. Margolis, about the landings is zoned open space recreational, and the only way that could change is if it goes to the a referendum to the voters. But that's only if we want to sell it or have someone else use it, right? The city can change that zoning for city use.
I do not believe under the current arrangement that we have with Fly USA that it would be legally permissible to amend the contract in a way that, without referendum, allowed Fly USA to alter the topography of the landings. And that is because the language in our charter has to do with sale, yes, but also has to do with lease for a new use. And the nature of the agreement that we have with Fly USA is in the nature of a leasehold interest. Therefore, it'd be my opinion that in order to lease any portion of the landings for a new use, such as expanded air park, that would require not only the procedural rezoning by council and going through the rezoning process, but would also require voter approval at referendum. That said, unless something has changed, of which I have not heard, Fly USA has said, 16,000 times from the beginning that that's not part of their site plan, not part of their request. And again, it's not that anyone has to take their word for it. It's because we have a contract that actually defines the leasehold area that they are able to occupy.
Right. I wasn't really referring, I didn't mean to refer to Fly USA expanding into the landings. That's not what my point was. My point, because I'm confident that Fly USA is going to operate at the air park the way you described it. The whole outline of that footprint is not going to change. My clarification with your statement about it being OSR having to go to a referendum to change that, not if we want to use part of the landings for city use. If we wanted to put a building on the landings, we would not have to go to a referendum. If we wanted to put a city building on that landings, correct? That would be a zoning change just by the council.
That is correct, but I want to emphasize that just the item that we're discussing right now with the council is for the air park, and so I just don't want to cause confusion either among residents or among council members. But yes, it is true that if there was an unrelated use that the city wanted to have its own operation there, for example, if the city wanted to open a police station there or a fire station there, under those circumstances, the city would be able to administratively rezone the property in order to allow our own usage. The logic for that being that we are neither selling nor leasing the property to any third party that would occupy the premises.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay, if not, we have a motion.
Motion to approve agenda item 6.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you. Let's move to public hearings. Administrative public hearing 7.2, please.
Approve the joint participation agreement between the City of Clearwater and the State of Florida Department of Transportation for a grant to purchase vessels, refurbishment, construction of docks, and water transportation service, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same and adopt resolution 24-07.
Good evening again, Council. Mike McDonald, Marine and Aviation Director. This item is to accept the Florida Department of Transportation grant for the purchase of ferry vessels, dock repairs, / construction, and for transportation services. On July 25th, 2023, Council approved the Second Amendment and second extension to water taxi operating agreement. The details extended the agreement for a term of 10 years with the subsidy provided for the first 5 years of the terms totaling $500,000. This grant allows for the purchase of 2 new ferry vessels and for transportation services, with the state covering 83.33% of the cost up to $1 million. $800,000 of state funding is available for the ferry vessels, and $200,000 of state funding is available for transportation services. The purpose of the grant would be to build 2 ferry vessels for the ferry operator to utilize and maintain, and to reimburse portion of the subsidy provided by the city to the ferry operator. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments on this item? Anyone from the public want to discuss this item? Okay, you want to read the resolution?
If we can pull it up. I feel like I should pull
See,
them up.
it wasn't me this time, it was you.
I know. I feel like I should probably pull them up in advance. So we have resolution number 2407, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, authorizing the execution of a joint participation agreement between the City of Clearwater and the State of Florida Department of Transportation for a grant to purchase vessels, refurbishment, construction of docks, and water transportation service, providing an effective date.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 7.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous, thank you. Second readings, 8.1, please.
8.1, we will have momentarily. 8.1 is ordinance number 9743-24, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, vacating a 15-foot drainage and utility easement as shown on the attached Exhibit A and as recorded in OR Book 15904, pages 863 through 868 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, providing an effective date.
Anyone want to discuss this item? If not, do we have a motion?
Move to approve agenda item 8.1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Now time for citizens to be heard regarding items not on tonight's agenda, not on the agenda. Make sure you fill out a card and hand it over to the clerk, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't say your number. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Tony from 520, 522, and 528 Cleveland Street. You guys know me from the 500 block. I'm the corner that's occupied. That being said, I'm here to talk about the vacancy grant. I gave you guys all copies of how we fit every criteria of the vacancy grant, and we're looking to see if we can have some retroactive because we're looking to finish the block. So we want to really bring life to downtown. Over here, I have a breakdown of what we spent, and we keep this in mind that we spent this as a tenant and not a property owner. We spent $1.8 million in the beautification of this great city. We've improved all this while keeping its original architecture and following its theme of rich music cultural history with 3 live music venues. We've experienced most of our major delays while it says here the vacancy grant, updating the fire code and all the facilities. As you've seen, most of our delays have been trying to figure a sprinkler system and access to water. Not only have we done that, but even if we don't take over the corner unit, we've made it accessible to the whole block. So we've done that for our community at our dollar. We have also, if you look at the next page, following the page right over here, we currently brought a nightlife to the downtown area that's not existed, providing 3 unique venues that all cater to different demographics. And over here, you can see the expenditures that we've had. We have ADA expenditures providing access to the 2nd level of our block. This is encompassed about $80,000, including an ADA bar and ADA 2nd floor. We've done windows and roofing repairs, all done on our dime, and upwards of $50,000. We've done $129,000 for not only specifically for us, but for all of the tenants of our block, as well as $64,000 about to bring in the water and the water lines, the Florence lines that came in and talked to you about. We've done about $25,000 at one of our locations for HVAC, providing a lower carbon footprint for our establishment. We've done, again, about 74 in the Nash Keys, as well as insulated with the highest grade soundproofing, again, decreasing our carbon footprint, and I believe beautifying the area and providing a better product. We've spent about $8,000 fortifying the pillars so that we could access your fire escape and be able to make it safe. We've done about another $12,000 fortification of the roof, as well as the windows. We spent $460,000, it looks like, in what we would say steel studs, redoing the walls, flooring, again, making it not only up to fire code, but up to the highest standard. We've also spent about $18,000, like I said, decreasing the carbon footprints while picking premium HVAC services, as well as doing split units. If you're familiar with split units are extremely more effective. We spent over $9,000 now sponsoring local artists. I know we have a little bit more time, don't we?
No.
Oh, local artists. If you just want to go to the end, basically, I'm trying to say that we
Please.
fit every criteria,
Okay,
and
thank you.
we
Please,
just need some help
thank
to
you.
try to
Thank
beautify the rest of the area.
Okay, thank you. Can someone get back with them on what the process is on this, or what?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm happy to get back with Tony, and I'd like to echo the fact that Tony he's got beautiful stores that are ready to open. I don't know if you all have been in there. I've been in there. He's done a very high level of work. They're beautiful stores. I'll have to talk with the folks in the CRA and the City Attorney's Office about what legally we can help him with. But clearly, he has invested a lot of money into someone else's property. I hope they appreciate that long term. We've been trying to help Tony get open, and I'll tell you, as he stated before, it's challenging to do what he needs to do. He's got big goals, high occupancies, and he'll be successful. But that is a challenging environment to retrofit old buildings and structures to do.
Okay.
So we'll work with him, Mayor, and see what if anything, we can help.
We've done it and maintained a rich cultural history that is the city of Clearwater.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank both of you. Anyone else on items not on tonight's agenda?
Hi, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of time to
Your
talk
name,
tonight.
please. Ma'am, your name for the record?
Yes, I'm Jennifer Harding. I live on 2165 Briarway Drive.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to take a moment to come before you and voice my concern about what's happening in our communities with Duke Energy, cutting down so many of our trees. I just want to start by saying how much I love the city of Clearwater. My husband was born here, and he's lived here his entire life. And in 1995, when he bought the home that we live in now, and when I met him about 9 years ago and first came to his home, I remember being in awe of his backyard because there are 4 beautiful, breathtaking oak trees back there. And since marrying him in 2015, our backyard has become my very favorite place to be. I love sitting out there after teaching second graders all day, just relaxing, reading a book. I have a 4-year-old nephew, and he comes over, and one of his favorite things to do is to swing on the swing that's hanging from one of our trees. Every time there's a holiday, family comes over, and the reason that they choose to come to our place is because we have a lovely space with shade. But I'm just really afraid that all of that's going to change pretty soon. I received a letter recently from Duke Energy stating that they're soon going to be doing some routine vegetation maintenance work, and in the letter it said, which may include removal of vegetation, because our backyard, there's a transmission line that runs directly down the middle of our backyard. And a lot of our neighbors received similar letters, and so we spoke to some of our neighbors. We haven't spoken directly to Duke Energy yet. We have a meeting scheduled because I'm gone all day working. But they've spoken to several of our neighbors and told them that they plan on completely removing many of these trees. And so when I heard this, I was heartbroken. These trees have been there a really long time. They're healthy. Without the shade provided by these trees, we're not going to be able to spend time in our backyard anymore because it's going to be too hot to do so. And so we have this property, we have a lovely backyard, and we're going to have no use of it anymore. So I understand there's an easement in place and that Duke Energy, of course, has to be able to access our backyard so that they can maintain the power lines. But I don't think that complete removal of these trees is necessary for this. My husband's lived in this house since 1995, and so that's been many, many years, and they've been able to simply trim the trees in the past. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden it's necessary for them to completely remove our trees. And I'm not the only one affected by this. So many of our neighbors are similarly concerned. One of our neighbors came home the other day to a missing tree, drove up, and the tree in their front yard was gone. And so now there's an ugly stump in his front yard where a beautiful tree once stood. There's a park down the street called Frank Tack Park, and several beautiful oak trees were cut down there. And all over the city of Clearwater, you can find red X's all over trees. So I'm just asking for your help. We're worried
Thank you.
that
We
our
need to wrap up.
property
Thank you.
values are going to
I appreciate it.
decrease. And
Mr. Slaughter, do you want to?
Yeah, and I think I might have even corresponded with you in the past, and certainly we're sympathetic. We are not, it's not our operation. We're certainly not have executive control over Duke Energy, but we have talked to them, and we have been sharing the residents' concerns with them. I think I last heard from Duke Energy on Tuesday, today's Thursday, so Tuesday. And I thought they might have paused the one for your neighborhood, or your house.
they have temporarily.
Temporarily paused it, so I mean, at least we knew we got that, which was kind of a win. And then we're just talking to them about, a little bit about the vendor. I mean, I heard some comments through the neighborhoods that some of the vendors kind of said it's easier to take the tree down than to prune it, and certainly I brought that to Duke's attention, that we didn't necessarily think that that was something that was the appropriate approach. So we're just going to continue to advocate and talk to Duke
We're
Energy.
going to do all we can on our part, even though we can't stop them. We can certainly turn the heat up a little bit and say, if you don't need to take a tree down, just trim it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on items not on the agenda?
Hi, Lucas Altick with 1973 Hastings Drive in Clearwater. I'm just here in support of Jennifer and the rest of the community on the tree issue. Thank you for all your comments and support. Wasn't really sure the level of support we were going to receive on that, so thank you. Last year, you guys assisted greatly in another initiative by citizens with, cutting down, the city cutting down trees. And much to the city government's credit, as well as those activists in the community, that was put to a halt because I think everybody realized how important trees are to the citizens of Clearwater. We have a historic canopy. It's a beautiful canopy, and we want to keep it that way. So I'm just supporting Jennifer on that. I had a little bit more typed up, but she covered a lot of the issues. A lot of these trees on Beecher Street and Montclair, Allard Drive, they're kind of going down and just cutting them all down. Seems arbitrary, just from first glance. But I did just want to kind of show, because visuals help. Just wanted to show some before and after photos. That is the canopy on Beecher Street that was present in 2018. That was the last Google Photos take of that particular canopy. It was actually quite a bit more filled out and larger about 2 months ago. And that's the canopy now. So you couldn't even see the transmission lines before, but now you can see them pretty well. Here's another one along, I think that one is on, that's some tree there. And then, that's it now. And then you have, this one's right across the street on the corner on that house. So it's pretty nice. That's an enviable canopy right there. And that's what you have now. Stumps. That one's right at the corner of the entrance to my community. And that's it now. So I hope you guys can advocate for us. I know we don't have direct control or authority over Duke, but you know, words and relationships go a long way. So please help if you can.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do that. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Kirby, 1111 Spencer Avenue, Clearwater, Florida. I stood before you 1 year ago showing similar photos from my neighborhood of trees that were chopped down. And every one of you here listened, and you did the right thing, and you stopped really what was going to be a complete abomination of thousands of trees being cut down. So I stand before you now. This isn't even my neighborhood. It's not my battle. But I stand before you because these pictures make me upset. And every single person is losing their trees again. And they just need to be trimmed. They don't need to be cut down. We're ruining our neighborhoods. We're destroying our canopy. Planting a twig in place of a 40 or 80-year-old tree is not the same. It's not the same. How many people do we need to bring in here and pack this room for a message to be delivered to Duke that Clearwater will stand up for their trees? Anything you can do to help, I welcome it. I can see that you care. I see that. Councilmember Beckman, thank you for your help last year, especially. Assistant City Manager Dan Slaughter, thank you for coming out to my neighborhood and walking my neighborhood with me and letting me show you the trees that have been cut down. I appreciate how much you care. I know you all care. I'm just pleading with you. Please listen to people. Please look at these photos. Show them to Duke. Say this is not acceptable to our city. We value our tree canopy and we love our environment here. People move here because it's beautiful. The beaches, the trees, the ocean, Clearwater, bright and beautiful Beta Beach. I was in these committees that help create these ideas that Clearwater stands for. I was in all of these different meetings. So I thank you and have a good night. Thanks for your service, every one of you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mayor, members of council, thank you for hearing me today. My name is Alexandra Nixon. I'm a community volunteer and the leader of one of the city's neighborhoods. Today I'm representing a group of residents of Spring Branch Stevenson Creek watershed number 15, which is part of the city, with regard to the proposed dock development projects submitted to the CDB by Valor Capital on February 20th. This project concerns this area right here of Stevenson Creek. These docks would be located, therefore, at Sunset Point near the Edgewater intersection where the bridge is. Following our questions raised by what appears to be an inappropriate February 20th Community Development Board approval of this dock structure, the staff report wasn't available to the community until just a few days prior to the CDB meeting, so residents were unable to fully understand the nature of this project. Upon further consideration of the staff report, the following unsupported facts have been highlighted. On page 5, regarding the standards stating the proposed dock is compatible in length to the docks in the immediate area. Staff report references docks to the east serving residential properties, but no comment is included on their length. These docks receive flexibility as part of a multifamily property, but they are not in the immediate area of the proposed dock. On page 8, regarding standard 301.C.3.H, stating the deviation sought to be granted is the minimum deviation that will make possible the reasonable use of the applicant's property. Staff findings do not mention that the principal use of this particular property is a townhouse development of 10 units already approved without the dock. Does this not constitute a reasonable use of the property, as it is? On page 9, regarding standard 914.8.1, stating it will be in harmony with the scale, bulk, coverage, density, and character of adjacent properties in which it is located. Staff findings report that the project is comparable in size and to other commercial docks serving multifamily developments in the immediate area. Yet, the standard chosen refers to allegedly adjacent properties which are not of the same character nor within the immediate area. On page 9, regarding standard 914.8.5, stating it is consistent with the community character of the immediate vicinity. Again, staff findings report that the docks located at 1860 North Fort Harrison were approved as a level 2 flexible development application as precedent. This address, however, is within the Bayside character district of the city and does not reflect the immediate character of the Stevenson Creek area. Furthermore, the staff report contains no details of the extreme hardship for the applicant as required under the deviation rationale of the code in section 3-601.c.3.1.3, which states, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the section would result in extreme hardship due to the unique nature of the project and the applicant's property. Such extreme hardship does not appear to have been
Ma'am, please wrap it
demonstrated
up.
by the applicant.
Please wrap it up. Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to try to express our requests to you, but I imagine you
Well, please
understand.
send an email and we will take a look at it. We'll call someone, okay? Thank you. Anyone else on items not on the agenda?
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening.
Before you start my clock, I've got a procedural question, because my wife would say it's just my hearing that's going bad, but back when the motion was made for the consent agenda and the confusion of what numbers were being pulled, did the last two agenda items get it included on that? Because it sounded like it was just up through 19, 21, and 22 didn't get included. But I'm just making sure, because my ears aren't what they used to be. Apparently. My wife would be the first one to tell you that. Now, I'm here, I want to read you something that someone that was kind of a mentor to me, Bob Clark, served on the city council as a city commissioner before we became council members. He wrote this, and I think it sums something up very, very well. It says, Clearwater city election is weeks away. Looking in on the candidate forums, a recurring and tired theme we get is the good old boys get elected. Most often, the good old boys are folks who didn't blow into town a few years back, but in many cases grew up here, went to school here, and have been active volunteers for decades. Yet some recent candidates seem to feel longtime residents should have to apologize for being part of the core of this city. And if these relative newcomers to civic life took time to look at the voting records of the good old boys, going back the last several decades, they would find solid support for all segments of our city. But it is simply too easy to make unsubstantiated claims that folks who have lived here a long time want anything other than what's best for this city. I think Bob said that so well. I couldn't have said it better. I guess the other points to make would be everyone who's ever sat in one of those seats. Everyone. And I know one of the central themes of this year's campaigns has been neighborhoods. Nobody has sat in one of those seats that doesn't understand the importance of neighborhoods. How you address them, how you fund them, how you prioritize, that's a whole different discussion. But nobody doesn't understand the importance of neighborhoods. But the other point, the point I think that Bob made so well here is, you know, the good old boys have done a hell of a job developing this city. And it made it a destination both for tourists and for people who say, Chicago, look at Clearwater and say, you know, when I'm ready to retire, that's where I want to live. And I know you all will continue to work, the next council will continue to work to keep doing that. But I feel like I wear the good old boy tag as a badge of honor because I know this city backwards and forwards. And I hope everyone who sits up there takes the time to learn about the city and understand what it is, how great it is, and how great it can continue to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on items not on the agenda?
I'm Mr. Haluva, and I am not a Clearwater police booster. heard me speak many times about Byron Lou Hatcher and this business. 108 traffic stops. Why? He's a stalker, that's why. He's abusing his authority. But here's a couple more. Alexis Kelsey and Winter Auduel, who are under Mr. Stiff's supervision. Civil rights violation, wrongful search and seizure, false arrest. And what do they get? They get a letter of reprimand. That's it. Both of these police officers should have been fired. How can we, as citizens, have any faith in Clearwater Police Department as a whole if this is going on and not addressed? I've made several complaints right here at this podium about Byron Lou Hatcher. Nothing's done. Alexis Kelsey and Winter Auduel, they're usually here, but I guess tonight's their night off. Ms. Poirier, when are you going to do something about Clearwater Police? They're running amok. And here's the problem right here. A legacy problem. Daniel Slaughter. I honestly believe, Mr. Slaughter, that you actually are controlled by the police union and you are controlled by the FOP. You're not doing what's best for the citizens of Clearwater. You never did. And for, Mr. Margolis, you sound more like a attorney for Fly USA than an attorney for the city of Clearwater. All you did tonight was defend their position and justify what's going on. And I find that to be a conflict of interest. I find it to be a basis for a bar complaint. You need to get your head in the right place. And I do aggravate the thin skin of Brian August.
So you got your first warning for the next meeting, and next time you do that, you're going to be thrown out. Please remove Mr. Haluba from the meeting.
I have civil rights,
Please
Mr. August,
remove Mr. Haluba from the meeting.
which you are violating right now.
Remove Mr. Haluba from the meeting.
Don't touch me.
Over such and certain, he's asking me.
He doesn't have the right to ask me to leave.
Yes, I do.
No, he doesn't. One time,
Let's go.
arrest me.
If you're refusing to leave, I'm issuing a trespass warning.
Okay, issue it.
You're not being issued a trespass warning. If
No,
refuse
you have
leave, you're gonna go to
to,
jail.
you have to do it in writing.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Mr. Luba, I'm telling you right now, if you don't leave, you're going to jail.
Let's go.
Mr. Luba,
I
this is the last time I'm telling
fucking
you.
dare you.
Welcome back to this Clearwater City Council meeting on March the 7th. Anyone on items not on the agenda?
What's the best way you can have a camera to show this or go down the water roads? Like I was saying in the bench before, if I don't know if you had that, I'll just put it on the local paper. Okay. Again, my name is James Hart. I live at 2874 Sarah Drive. I was actually 50 years ago counting traffic downtown Pittsburgh as part of the first urban studies program in the entire country. Besides economics and sociology and whatever else, had to take geology. If you're going to put a road cut in, you have to know what's going on so you can help create blueprints or whatever. Right now, picture this as U Street, 4 lanes, maximum traffic. And the questions I have, which I haven't seen any details yet. How many accidents were strictly due to road design in this? I hear 500, but I don't have any breakdown. How many accidents, you can write these down as notes, I wish you would. Number 2, how many accidents were due to failure to yield right away? 3, how many accidents were caused by running stop signs? How many accidents were due to impaired drivers? How many accidents were due to obstructed line of sight where you have a tall tree or a bush or whatever else? How many accidents were caused by side swipes, people trying to get around stop traffic and then coming together here? I don't know. You? Probably not. One thing might help in the meantime is posting signs along that road. Pick your pick, caution, emerging traffic, or a lot of traffic to merge, just to help top of mind awareness as far as what's going on. Now, as far as what is the left lane traffic count for each half hour of the day? You take out these left turn lanes, these guys are gone, and I read in the paper that says, oh, only 1 every 30 seconds can go revolt to bay. There's a lot more than 2 cars every 30 seconds in this scenario. To me, that's laughable. Well, let's go what we have the actual turn lane set up here. Okay? You always have the 1 lane going regardless. That's full capacity. That's going to be full capacity. These guys are gone. But what happens if you come up here in a car and there's a bus there? Or a garbage truck? And kids at home to worry, Oscar's not in the truck. Or I came today, there was an Amazon truck there. These guys are not going to wait. They're going to go into this turn lane. But then you've got the turn lane here, somebody going the other direction. Now instead of side swiping, you're talking head-on collisions. That's not a good thing to have happen here. So the other thing I would help, and I studied, is the left turn lane needs to have a longer light. The Gulf to Bay.
Sorry, your 3 minutes is up. Why don't you send this to us in some kind of a email format for us to look at?
Can I give you 1 sentence?
Yes.
The former head of the AAA said that the vast majority of deaths and accidents happen between seconds after a light change. Go through the city, have a 3-second delay.
Thank you, sir.
And you're going to cut things
All
down.
right, thank you very much.
80%.
Anyone else on items not on tonight's agenda? Not on tonight's agenda. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor Ongst, council members, Ms. Poirier, Mr. Margolis. I'm here to say, I guess, the following. The council members and the city staff have very difficult jobs, very difficult. They have years of corrective actions to take because of things that were not done in the past. Infrastructure, recycling, just to name a couple of things, sidewalks, trees, and so forth. So I'm here tonight to say thank you to all of you for the work you do. And I truly mean this from my heart. Even though we may disagree from time to time on issues, that's just part of interactions, talking about what we believe is in the best interest of the group we represent. But I know that each of you have listened when I've come to talk to you, and you've taken into consideration those thoughts. I'm not quite sure because of the timing of meetings, Mayor Ernst. This may be your last meeting, and if, oh, you do get one more? Well, I'm going to say it anyhow. I do want to thank you for stepping in and for filling this role for the period of time that was provided. And I think that's something that, when I look at the code of conduct listed in the back, is that more people need to be representative of being civil to each other and talking about the issues and so forth. As I said, we can disagree to disagree, or in fact, sometimes we even agree to disagree. But that's just part of the process of the massive job that you folks have. There's a lot of issues that we could describe with regards to that infrastructure, specifically on North Beach, that should have been dealt with years ago by previous administrations that were here. They were not. But and I say I, but I know a lot of our neighbors are very pleased about the actions and the involvement that you're taking now, again, specific to North Beach, recognizing that they have a horrendous problem down there. And so we thank you all for that. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. We appreciate the comments. Thank you very much. Anyone else on items not on tonight's agenda? All right, let's move on. City manager reports. We have a North Beach update, 10.1.
Good evening, Mayor, council
Good
members.
evening.
Marcus Williamson, Public Works Director. Was here to talk a little bit about what all we've been doing out on North Beach. So one of the big things, we've had the camera crews out there and the maintenance crews out going on. On here's a couple of the photos of some of what we've been finding as we're out there. We're seeing concrete, pool debris, as well as landscaping. It might be a little easier to see on this one as it blows up just a little bit. So all of this, when we go to get in, for us to go out and put our camera crew in, we're putting what's called a Vector truck that goes out there that will actually clean the pipes a lot of times so that we can get the camera down the pipe. That truck is about $750,000 just to put it in perspective. The camera truck is about $500,000. So when we've got contractors or landscapers dumping stuff into the storm sewer, we're probably paying magnitudes of additional costs to remove what they're putting in our storm sewers. So anything that the residents can do to kind of remind their neighbors, you know, hey, you putting that in there, it's costing everyone just a little bit more money. But these are some of the challenges we're facing. If you get concrete in there, you know, things that have to happen, we actually have to open up the pipe to get that out. So it gets to be a lot more expensive to kind of dig down and open some of this up. So again, anything people can do just to kind of remind their neighbors is greatly appreciated. Some of the other pieces that we've got going on, so we have put some temporary pumps out there. We've been moving them around a little bit. We've been gathering data as far as what's going on, trying to figure out what we're seeing for different flows. They're on automatic floats, so as water levels come up and down, we're able to monitor that. We're trying to figure out what's going on. You know, some of it we may see people are dumping their pools, you're getting a bunch in it. We're evaluating the auto flushers out there from our potable water system from public utilities. We've been working with them, looking at their processes, looking at flows, potential locations, and also we're going back and forth to try to see how we can help minimize some of those impacts. The issues with the weir that was out there, we had secured that weir temporarily. We put a temporary fill to get it up to the full sea height. We're continuing to monitor that. We will likely fill that in down the road with part of the permanent projects that go. We are actively working on the engineering work order to put the permanent pumps out there. So we've been talking back and forth. The firm that we're working with did some of Fort Lauderdale's, so they're going to help us with some of the Florida Department, or excuse me, the SWIFT mud issues with some of the permitting and discharges. So we picked somebody that just went through this recently. And then we talked a little bit about trying to get after some of the contractor work that's going on. From the master plan, we're starting to work on the RFP, the RFQ that's gonna go out for that. That will look at the pipe size increases. We're also gonna be looking at curb and gutter that's out there. On the ordinance, we have issued that work order, so at some point in the future, we'll be bringing that through city staff and leadership. Again, that's a longer-term effort. And then anything that the long-term ordinances that could help with some of the sea level rise issues. So with that, I guess I'll pause if there's any specific questions out there.
Can we put this information up on the city's website? You just
Sure.
shared in a timely manner, make let the North Beach folks know that it's there. Other questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, Marcus, for that update. How does all that work that we're doing, we're planning for, budgeting, capital improvement budget, how does that fit into that 9 million or those millions of dollars that are from the state to help North Pinellas stormwater assessment that we talked about with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program Board and your Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council? So how, do you know about that whole, looking at our county comprehensively for stormwater mediation?
So we haven't gone into the funding process on how all of this is going to get funded. That's part of what we'll be looking at. Some of the immediate stuff we're doing out of our stormwater budgets, we'll be looking for different venues to kind of help mitigate as much cost as we can, whether it's through grants or other programs or just smart design options out there.
But your department's working with those others regionally, right? I mean,
Correct.
Okay.
Oop, and man, we're just a little early as we're trying to get some of this moving.
Yeah.
But yes, those are all things that we need to be engaging on, so.
Do you guys meet like quarterly? How frequently do you meet with that group? Do you-
I would have to get with Sarah and see how often she's meeting with them, so I can get that answered to you.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions or comments?
Can I
Yes,
throw
sir.
just one other one? I know there was a little
Absolutely.
bit separate from the North Beach. There was some questions regarding Stevenson Creek booms and whatnot. I would like to just kind of comment. We are initiating a lot more ditch cleanups that are going on. We're looking at a bunch of those booms, trying to get more of this trash. So in addition to the North Beach, we're reinvigorating a bunch of that ditch cleaning and stuff. So, you know, we did appreciate some of those comments that made us aware of a couple of areas where some stuff had built up. So we're actively working that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, anything else from city manager?
No, sir.
City attorney?
Just briefly, I know we heard from a few residents this evening talking about Duke Energy and the tree vegetation, the removal program and trimming program, pruning, et cetera. Certainly that's something that can be looked at. I mean, there are limitations, as pointed out, on what we can do with a private company. That's particularly true. There are some preemption issues involving investor-owned utilities like Duke. However, they do also have some responsibilities when it comes to vegetation. And one gentleman pointed out, I think wisely, that there are also positive relationships that can help smooth that over. So I have some ideas, which I'll be happy to share with the city manager's office for how we might be able to bring everyone together on that. So.
All right, appreciate it. All right, closing comments. We'll start, let's go start with Councilmember Beckman.
I don't have too much. I just say, thank you to all the community leaders that get up and speak and advocate for what's best in their community. I appreciate that. I was excited about the Trailblazing Women exhibit that's open. I have two friends that are being honored there that I'm excited to go and see their display. Also, I'm a mentor in the schools, and this was my last Wednesday before spring break with Sophia. So spring break is next week in Pinellas County. So kids and parents will be out and about. So I hope they are safe and have a good spring break. And also, one of my favorite activities, Market Marie is going to be in Coachman Park this weekend from 10 to 2. So if you can get down there, they have, or 10 to 3, over 100 vendors, and it's really a lovely venue to have all those arts and crafts there. And that's it.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Right before the, excuse me, right before the meeting, there was a article put out on the Tampa Bay Times, and I'm not going to talk about the details of the crime that's reported on, but I am listed as the victim. And I did want to talk a little bit about a couple of questions that were asked by the paper and by other people curious about this, because this was a mini crime wave that hit at various locations around the city, and there was a nice woman in North Greenwood who happened to capture part of this on a Ring camera, and I was able to turn that over to the police, and the Clearwater Police did a great job of following their routes around town with different traffic cameras, and they were able to actually catch the two people who were involved in this. And the officer asked me if I wanted to have them charged, and I said, no, not really. I just wanted answers, who was doing it and why. And we found out who, and we found out why, and you can read about it in the paper. But the why was principally because I talk about the Church of Scientology from time to time. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but occasionally that comes up. I've been helping people who have been abused and defrauded by Scientology for 25 years now. And when I talk about Scientology, I'm not talking about Scientologists. I'm talking about the way the organization is run by the ruthless leader, David Miscavige, who's holding our downtown hostage, and all the abuses that primarily target Scientologists themselves. So when Scientologists do something against me, I don't blame them. So the guys who did this crime spree are probably good, decent people. Just upset that I say something negative about Scientology, and they probably have never heard a single comment that I've said. But I just wanted to make it clear that, you know, I have no problems with Scientologists. I have no problems with beliefs. I have problems with actions taken by the organization that primarily impact those people. So I just wanted to explain, I didn't see any reason to punish these people anymore. I just wanted answers, and thanks to the police and this woman in North Greenwood, I got those answers. So thank you.
Okay.
So the last few weeks, we've all been very busy with so many events and activities, and it was crazy, but crazy good, because it's all about acknowledging, recognizing, and rewarding organizations or people that are doing great things in our city. And there's so many that it's actually gonna take more than 3 minutes, so I'm just gonna highlight some. We started off by welcoming back the Phillies with the Mayor's Cup. Of course, the Phillies won. Mayor from Dunedin, Julie, came here. She's so charismatic. She wore the Phillies shirt, and so that tradition continued. That's heartwarming. I also attended the Achieve Hers annual luncheon, which featured 2 speakers from the Dimmitt family, and they discussed the seriousness of suicide and their experience as a family. That was very emotional, very inspirational. I'm on the advisory board of Latin Tech in the Tampa Bay region, where we advise companies from different technologies that are thinking of either expanding or starting a business in the States. These countries vary from Brazil to Peru, Cuba, Mexico, and I'm very proud and excited that we as Clearwater have become much more engaged, because most of the conversations always happened in Tampa Bay. Our economic development department hosted our own event where we actually shuttled those company owners to our city, to our downtown, and we did sort of like a speed dating where we had various stakeholders engage with them, and we've already reaped some rewards, and the conversations have continued, and we have 2 companies that are thinking of having a presence in Clearwater. And so that kind of assertive, go-getting attitude is fantastic. So thank you to the Economic Development Department. Sea Blues, it was cold, but the people were there and the vibes were great. And I had the honor of recognizing the MC Larry, who has been there since the beginning of time. And so we awarded him a guitar with all the signatures from all the artists. That was delightful. We also have been recognizing all the first responders for that plane crash. And that included the ARF, which is Aircraft Rescue Firefighting. They played a very pivotal role in that endeavor, and so we have recognized them. That was also a very good thing to do. The Principals Appreciation Breakfast, of course, is dear to my heart. We featured middle schoolers to high schoolers, either performing arts or visual, so that was delightful, and celebrated all the principals. And I think, if I'm correct, you're Courtney. Hi, Courtney. Courtney is from the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Committee, and which I'm part of, and I want to welcome you to our meeting. It's such an important organization, and it's important that Clearwater's voice is heard in our region. So, welcome, Courtney.
Thank you. Mr. Robert.
Okay. Well, I think spring break, does that start tomorrow? Lots of things going on. I mean, Lena said that we've been so busy the last couple of weeks with all kinds of different functions. But I've noticed big uptick in traffic to the beach. So I'm going to make a suggestion to you. If you want to go to the beach, take advantage of our park and ride program we have. You can park over near the old city hall for free, and you can take the trolley to the beach for free and back to your car. City of Clearwater and PSTA both partner with that program throughout spring break to help people get to the beach and back without worrying where they're going to park to get over there. So it's a really good program. We've done it for a few years, and it's been really successful. Now, the other thing is we've got 12 more days till elections. You know, we have elections in March. Local elections are in March. A lot of people in Clearwater don't understand that. You know, they look to August and November as the normal election cycle. 12 days. We've got great candidates running for city council seats and mayor, and everybody really needs to get out and make sure you vote, because you need to have the best people possible up here. So just make sure you get out and vote. 12 more days. It's not next Tuesday, it's a Tuesday after next. Make sure you get out and vote if you haven't already. Thanks.
Thank you. And Lena also took a lot of the stuff. That's okay. You said it.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
It's okay.
I
That's
think
for
I
you to
care.
do.
It's been busy. We've all been very busy. We've all attended a lot of things. I had to make sure I wasn't mixing up my opening speeches or comments, because it was the old thing, if this is Tuesday, this must be Belgium or something, you know, it's like an old movie. But anyway, we're having a good time getting out and meeting and talking to people, and there's a lot of great events. The Clearwater for Youth event, of course, Monday morning we were at, and they were here, and that's just such a great organization doing so many things for children in need or young athletes, because the schools do not support, especially the middle schools, the elementary schools, the sports that they did when I was in junior high school. We had all the sports, but anymore they don't. So it's an important, and then giving these kids scholarships, especially a number of them who never had anyone in their family go to college. That was really inspiring to see. And picking up on what Mr. Albertin said, yes, please get to know the candidates and exercise your right to vote on March 19th. Thank you very much. Good meeting tonight, and we will see everyone on March 18th.